Sean
That
Murphy.
curveball? Oh,
I didn't love seeing him get hit by that pitch
for that
I didn't mind
baseball.
watching him
Ouch.
walk to the third.
Big one in the back pocket.
Flex on Sean Murphy. Playing Tuesday, Cavs, Nets, and Clippers, Timberwolves. Let's start with Cleveland at Brooklyn. The amount of energy and oxygen dedicated to this Brooklyn team this season. And yes, it's not a one and done. They can lose and still beat Atlanta or Charlotte, but this is playing to get to a series, to get to a series, to get to a series, to get to a finals that some people were predicting as a lock 10 months ago. This is where they are. Jared Allen, a no-go for Cleveland. That's big for the Cavaliers. Speaking of locks, ESPN's slate of quote-unquote experts, and I see a couple names in there I know. Brooklyn 18-0. Sarah, are the Nets
I'm not on that list.
that type of lock tonight?
well, if they filled that out when the season started, yeah, you got preseason favorites versus the team with the longest odds to get there in the Timberwolves. That's what's fascinating, or in the Cavs, which is what's fascinating about this series. I think the problem is what you mentioned, Jared Allen. This would be a lot more interesting if they had him, but we saw what Andre Drummond did in their last meeting without his presence inside. This is a better Nets team, but they're never, ever a lock. You would have to have not watched a single second of this season to call the Nets a lock at literally anything. They're terribly inconsistent. Defensively, they're always a liability. And yeah, this Cavs team was much better midseason. They've sort of limped down the stretch, and without Allen, I don't think they will win this game. But it's not a lock when you've got a team like the Nets, who all season long we've had to make any number of excuses for as to why they landed in the play-in game instead of being a team that should be a favorite.
Flames are the size of the face.
A lock.
Bill Plaschke, are these Nets a lock tonight?
They're a lock.
Of course.
You too.
Of course.
gotta
It's
say,
over.
Every
It's
time.
over.
One of the
Every
19
time I come
experts.
here.
They are 11-6 with Durant and Kyrie back. They won 4 straight with Durant and Kyrie back. Kyrie's scoring 27, Durant scoring 29. They're getting it all together. Ben Simmons may show up. And Cleveland, again, 3-8 since Allen went out. Andre Drummond got a double-double on the other night. The Nets are poised. And I think that's what I love about this, is that they're you can really, we don't know what's going to happen, but it could be magical with these guys. We just don't know. After all this season, stars win in the postseason. They have the stars back.
What do you mean by Ben Simmons might show up on the bench and watch the game?
No, in the series.
Well, this is the play-in. So the first round, yes, he may show up, but not tonight.
I'm getting beyond. I'm going beyond.
I'm asking about tonight, at least to start. Israel Gutierrez, are the Nets a lock?
I would go ahead and say yes. They're a lock for tonight. I'm not going to go as far as Bill and to say they could have this magical run. I think there's been enough that we've seen from this team that at some point the defense is going to catch up with them. At some point the inconsistency is going to catch up with them, and the fact that Ben Simmons or they don't have a center really is going to catch up with them. But I think when you talk about this game and you look at the last 4 that they've played, that they've won, Bill mentioned it. Kevin Durant is seemingly in this mode, right? And I think we've gotten to a point with Kevin Durant where he's away from the Warriors and still sort of trying to prove a point, still trying to prove, look, I am the man. I think he's getting a lot of the love and attention individually that he didn't get, and now it's like in the playoffs, I really have to turn it on. So I think we see another level of Kevin Durant. I don't think they take any chances and say, okay, we can lose this one and still get into the 8 seed. No, they dominate tonight with Kevin Durant leading the way, and they get into the playoffs to face Kyrie's other old team, Boston.
And Harry Lyles Jr., are the Nets a lock tonight?
I won't go as far as to say that they're a lock, just because why else would we be playing the game, right? But I do think that they're as close as to a lock as you could get for a couple reasons. One is, to Sarah's point, with the absence of Jared Allen, the Cavaliers are actually 3-8, worse even than they were just with him after the All-Star break, and they're also giving up 11 points more per 100 possessions on defense without him. And to Izzy's point, I think another thing that we're going to see tonight is a big night from Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, this is a time of year where he steps up in a way that I think a lot of people forget. But it's one thing to remind you of last year's postseason where he averaged over 34 points a game, whereas in the regular season he averaged 26. I think he's going to have a big night. I think it's as closest to a lock as you could get, though.
What did you say, Harry? That why are they playing the game? Well, they're playing the game because there's a play-in for some odd reason. The 7 plays the 8, not the 7 versus
But if
the
it's a
10.
lock, why would we
That's
play
why
the
they're
game?
playing the game.
And the winner, and the loser, the winner.
Flashkey, you want a last word here? I'll give it to you.
It's amazing. Everybody in this panel thinks they're going to win. Everybody but me is afraid to say it's a lock. We all know it's a lock. Just admit it. They're going to beat the Cavs. The Cavs have no chance winning this game. Just say it. Don't be afraid of the word lock. It's your friend. It's the truth.
I would be less afraid if it was you, if it was anybody but you.
That's true, yeah. Israel, you said Kyrie versus his old team. There could be fireworks there. But Patrick Beverly versus his old team, that could be the 4th of July. Who knows what we're going to get tonight. LA, Minnesota, 2 teams with something to prove. And the slate of quote-unquote experts, and again, I'm recognizing some names on the list. 13-5 Clippers. Bill Plaschke, who looks better for tonight's one-off?
Make it 14-5 Clippers. The Clippers look great for tonight. The Clippers look great for the postseason. They're coming around. Paul George is back. Norman Powell's back. Paul George has been shooting over 50% from three-point since he's back. This is a team that got to the conference finals last year without Kawhi Leonard. And I'm saying it right now, as the Clippers advance, Kawhi could show up in this postseason. He could be on the court at some point in this postseason, and the Clippers could end up going all the way to the NBA Finals. You're laughing at me, and I'm telling you, if he's back, they're back. And they're certainly getting past the Timberwolves tonight. Minnesota's too young. They're still trying to figure it out. It's their first rodeo. They'll get to the playoffs. But
this is going to harm me, I can tell already, but I've actually flipped on this game from what I picked, which was the Clippers, to now the T-Wolves.
From the moment that we just showed that all the panel picks, interesting. Okay.
Yep.
So let me hear it first
which was
before I
just
make
a
a
couple
ruling.
of days ago till now. I flipped on. I think it's because the way their offense has been playing since the All-Star break, one of the top 3 in the league. I think being at home is a big deal. I think the Patrick Beverly situation just sort of getting the crowd ignited and getting everybody involved. And I think they're ready for this game. I do think, and if you look forward, okay, the Grizzlies versus the T-Wolves, 2-7 would be an amazing matchup of young talent. But 1-8, if Kawhi comes back, Phoenix Suns versus the LA Clippers, because if the Clippers go on and beat the Spurs or the Pelicans in the next play-in game, I think that would be quite the intriguing first-round game for the end.
Well, that's what you're getting a mute for, because we don't need to look ahead just yet. We've got only the next 3.5 months of NBA playoffs to look ahead. Harry Lyles Jr. tonight's play-in. You like Minnesota? You like the Clippers?
I like Minnesota. I think the Clippers would like to prove that they are better than the play-in tournament now that they're the healthiest they've been all year. But I like Minnesota in this game. It's like Izzy said, they've got a top 3 scoring offense since the All-Star break. And one of the things that they also have that I think is going to help them this postseason is that they've got one of the best starting lineups, at least in terms of outscoring its opponents by 100 points or more. There's only 7 in the NBA that have that. And so you're going to see a lot more of that lineup and that rotation during the postseason. Also happy to see what we're going to see out of Anthony Edwards in a postseason format, especially in a one game, to get into the postseason, as well as Pat Beverly. Like, he is the instigator of all instigators, the agitator of all agitators going against this former team. It's going to be a really fun game, but I got the Timberwolves.
And Sarah Spain.
First, let me go back at Bill's bold proclamation that he could come back and then they could make the final. Say it if you're going to say it, but giving us a bunch of coulds doesn't do much for me.
But he's on his way.
Who knows? Well, then don't say I'm saying it right now. But I'm not really saying it. I'm saying could a bunch of times. The point is, the Timberwolves are my pick in this, but this is a fascinating matchup because a lot of the things that we're going to use to try to predict this don't really matter anymore. 3 of their 4 meetings this season were without D'Lo, and they were within 10 days of each other. They played each other 3 times in 10 days before Thanksgiving. Throw it all out. You got a 25th ranked offense in the Clippers. Most of that was without Paul George and before Powell, so that doesn't really matter. But you do look at something like the Timberwolves, highest scoring points in the league. They take and make the most threes. If they go off and the Clippers are 25th in offense and can't keep up, this game's over. I got the Minnesota.
You're familiar with paralysis by analysis, Sarah. I think you just argued longer than this game is going to take. It's a one-off. But I hear what you're putting down. All right. I think we've done enough on the play. And one more story here. Last night. Were you guys feeling a draft?
Oh, yeah.
Feeling it.
Ryan Howard, number 1 to the Atlanta Dream. Melissa Smith, number 2 to Indiana. Shakira Austin, 3 to Washington. Indiana had about half the picks. Chicago, the defending champs, didn't even have any. Harry Lyles Jr., who was the big winner?
Well, I'm going to give you a little Bill Plaschke here and give you a little bit of home cooking. To me, it's the Atlanta Dream. This team means a lot to this city.
Good young man.
Everything that they've been through both on and off the court the last 2 years. For them to trade up for the number 1 pick last week and draft Ryan Howard, who we all know is the best player in this draft. She was the SEC Player of the Year in her sophomore and junior years. great player. For them to have her as a building block as they try to get this rebuild going for this team is huge. And then for Naz Hillman to drop to them as well, that was a great pick. So you've got two really good pieces here for this team to build off of, for a team that really needs it, for a team that loves, or a city rather, that loves its team.
It was all a dream for Harry. Israel, big winner of the draft.
Well, I'm going to say the big winner was somebody who got questioned for where she got picked, and that's Lexi Hull. And I'm here to defend that pick for the Indiana team. Because, look, first of all, when you have all those picks, you're not, it'd be great if you get superstars from all of them, but you're trying to build something there and build a team. And Hull is ignitable. She moves great without the ball. She defends well. And sometimes you might just need role players on your team who can do the things that she does as essentially a 3-and-D player. So I think Lexi Hull probably a little bit underrated in terms of where she got picked.
Underrated, okay, because she was projected in the second round, and she went 6th overall, which is a big shock of the mock draft reveal last night. Plaschke, how about you? Big winner from the...
You know, sadly, a lot of these players in this draft will never be on the rosters of these teams the way the WNBA is set up. They need to expand. But
I'm glad you say that, because this is absurd. 36 players were drafted last night. There's no guaranteed first-round picks are going to make the roster. Well done, Plaschke.
But the Mystics got two that I think will make the with Austin and Kristen Williams. I think they got two really good players for the trade to help Deladon. The Mystics won this draft.
Sarah Spain, now to you. Big winner.
Well, you mentioned the Sky, so I'll just point out we don't need any picks. We picked up our 3rd Finals MVP as a free agent in Emma Meeseman, adding that to a championship roster, so back-to-back looks very likely.
How do you do?
I think the Fever also won, though, because like you said, 4 picks in the first round. You've got Smith and Egbo that already have chemistry from college. You've got Hull a little early that Izzy pointed out, but you also got Destiny Henderson a little bit later than most people thought. So you get a steal in Destiny. Now, of course, to your point, not everyone's going to make those rosters, but they were drafting for defense, for energy. They drafted a bunch of champions, whether it was national or just their conferences. They got winners, and that's what the Fever need, because ever since Tamika Catching stopped playing, it's been since 2015 since they've had a winning record, a good season. They need to rehab everybody, and these players are going to be the ones that
So you got a Fever, and the only prescription are the players they drafted last night. All right,
It's more draftees.
we're taking a break. Buy or sell on the other side. For Phillies third baseman Alec Boehm, early in the game, 3 errors, heard a whole bunch of boos. Then he finally did manage to get a routine play go his way. There were jeers for that, and that's when cameras seemed to catch him saying, "I bleeping hate this place," to Didi Gregorius on the way to the dugout. Here's Boehm after the game.
Emotions got the best of me, you know, I said it. And do I mean it? No.
So you actually love this place?
Yeah, you know what? I do, yeah.
How about that? A full admission from Boehm. Do you think Philly fans will respect his voice there, or they're going to eat him for a snack at a Wawa on the way to lunch at another Wawa? Bill Plaschke, how do you think this is going to go?
A snack and a Wawa, that's what it's going to be. The Philly fans, I was there a couple weekends ago, and I was booed. It's okay. It's what they do. It's how they do it. He should know that. He's also trying to hold off Bryson Stott, the young prospect, trying to steal his job. Feeling a lot of pressure. He reacted in the wrong way. Philly's going to take it. The fans are going to remember this. They're going to put it on a T-shirt. He's not going to forget about it. It's his mistake.
Sarah Spain owning up to it afterwards, or is it the lip reading at the start that's going to get him here?
I like the owning up to it. I'm not sure about leading the witness. Oh, so you really love it then? Sure. I think he needs to lean into this by making shirts that say Alec F-bomb and whatever else that needs to kind of play it up, have some fun with it. Because, yeah, the Philly fans aren't going to like it, but I don't blame him for a second. I'm not a big fan of people booing your own team, and so I would be frustrated if I were there having a rough day and my own fans were making me hear it too.
Harry Lyles Jr.
I'm buying this as a wonderfully human moment that we got to enjoy. I mean, I imagine if any of us were in his position, we probably would have had the same reaction, but I'm glad that, you know, he did admit, like, hey, like, I shouldn't have said that, I didn't mean it, because it was the heat of the moment. But it is pretty funny to watch a professional athlete, like, have that moment, like, just for us to see it all. And I don't think that Philly fans will forget that, though. They don't forget much.
And Israel Gutierrez.
Was this not covered in rookie orientation? You either have to put your shirt over your mouth to talk to your teammates or your glove over your mouth. Yeah. You cannot allow these types of things to happen, okay?
That's a good point.
However, now that it did get caught, look, if this is him letting emotions get the best of him, like calmly saying, I bleeping hate this place, then okay, it's totally forgivable. It's not something that's going to hurt the rest of the team or anything else. He's not breaking a bunch of TVs in the clubhouse. This is fine.
I don't know. Admitting to it completely after the game. That may win him over to the fans. We'll move on. Buy or sell two. The latest on Luka Doncic's calf MRI confirms a calf strain. No timetable for return. And with Mavs Jazz being the first game Saturday afternoon, he doesn't even get a day or half a day to get some extra rest. When he went down this weekend, Warriors were up 25 in their game. Mavs were essentially playing meaningless basketball, seedless basketball. They were already locked into the 4 seed. Tim Kalishaw questioned that yesterday. But Sarah, what's the level of concern for Dallas now, knowing there's no timetable right now?
Yeah, it's huge. We don't know the grade of the strain or the location, but NBA players missed an average of 16 days because of this injury, and they can't afford to lose him. He has the highest usage rate of anyone in the league. We know this team is all Luka all the time, and so I think it's strange that they seem so confident that he'll be available despite us having zero information about exactly how serious this strain is.
Ira Lyles Jr.
Yeah, I think any sort of injury that he's going to have is not a little deal, and it's probably a big deal because if you look at last season's series against the Clippers in the postseason, he was their team. He is the only reason that they competed in that series. That team was 50 points worse with him off the floor. They were +7 with him on, minus 43 with him off the floor. They absolutely need this guy. They need him as healthy as possible.
Israel Gutierrez.
Yeah, I was curious why he was playing at all. He hasn't really been fully healthy on that leg all year long. And look, you look at the Western Conference as in terms of sneaky teams that you feel like can make a run or can possibly beat Phoenix. And I think given the way Luka's been playing, and they've been playing since the Porzingis trade, I think a lot of people have been saying Dallas is that team. And so this injury would be huge if it keeps him out, of an actual possibility of beating the Jazz in the first round.
And Bill Plash.
I'm going last on this buy or sell. I'm down 9 points. I have no chance to get this place. I bleep and hate this place.
Okay.
I didn't get it.
Plash has got to go. I was intrigued when you said you were booed by Philadelphia fans. I mean, I know there's a long list of things you may have said, but do you know what it was specifically?
Yeah. It was a guy in the deli recognized me and didn't really like me. Let me have it.
All right, that's going to be it for Bill Plash. Sorry that didn't go your way at the deli, but you can eat well in Philadelphia, that's for sure. Sarah Spade.
Right.
Israel Gutierrez, showdown in 2 minutes.
When you cover your mouth, we can still.
History of history has had a start to a career like Cleveland's Stephen Kwan. On base 15 times in his first 4 games. Hasn't swung and missed at a ball yet, as of our tape time. And he flies around with base, in the seat next to him because that's how much he's getting on base. Sarah, what's the best part of everything I just said?
I mean, it's all great, but the last bit, it's right out of the program. He's not even carrying the football. He's got the base's own seat. I love it.
Israel?
He hasn't swung and missed yet. The way baseball is going, where it's either hit a home run or strike out, and he hasn't swung and missed yet. Unbelievable. Probably never going to miss all season.
I don't know about that, but I'm with you, Israel, that's the shocker for me. We'll move on. Baseball history. You guys know how far back baseball history goes? And while there has been 10 twins playing at the same time as each other, in addition to Minnesota Twins, I guess, never have 2 twins pitched against each other. It happened last night. Taylor Rogers is the older brother by 30 seconds. Tyler Rogers is the mirror image twin. Taylor got the save for San Diego. Tyler took the loss for San Francisco. Israel, what's the best part of everything?